I always thought great sex was supposed to be fast and frantic, like in movies where clothes fly off and everyone's out of breath in 3 minutes flat. Then came that rainy Tuesday with Jason. We'd been dating for a month when he showed up at my door with takeout, and that quiet smile of his, the kind that made my stomach do slow flips. One kiss turned into 10, but instead of rushing his hands, moved like we had all the time in the world. When his fingers undid my buttons, they lingered at each one, brushing skin just enough to make me shiver. "You're shaking," he murmured against my neck. I wasn't cold. The bedroom smelled like rain and his cologne. He laid me down like something precious, taking forever just to slide the strap of my tank top aside. His mouth followed where his fingers had been, warm, unhurried kisses along my shoulder that made my toes curl into the sheets when our bodies finally pressed together. There was no frantic rocking, just slow rolls of his hips, our foreheads touching, eyes locked. I'd never felt so seen. Every nerve ending woke up like it had been sleeping my whole life afterward as we lay tangled in the humid dark. I realized this wasn't just sex. This was a conversation, and for the first time I wanted to listen. Jason's hands taught me patience that night. He traced the shell of my ear with his tongue so slowly I could count each heartbeat between touches. The air hummed with the scent of his skin salt and that faint cedar shampoo I teased him about buying when his fingers finally slipped under my waistband. They moved like they were memorizing terrain. Every inch of me became a discovery. The dip of my hip bone, the sensitive patch behind my knee, the way my breath hitched when his thumb circled my navel. The sheets whispered beneath us, cotton catching on flush skin. He kissed the inside of my wrist lips, lingering over my pulse point. I never knew that spot could ache so sweetly. The bedroom lights were off, but moonlight striped his shoulders as he moved above me, shadows emphasizing the tension in his arms. When I dragged my nails down his back, our bodies found a rhythm without speaking, his exhales warm against my throat, my legs tightening around his hips in silent demand. The world narrowed to textures, his callous palms on my thighs. The damp heat between us, the delicious friction of slow rolling thrust that built pleasure like a tide, gradual, inevitable when I finally fell apart. It was with his name muffled against his shoulder teeth, sinking into skin as waves of sensation crashed over me. Jason just held me through it, his shuddering breath. The only sound in the dark that night with Jason changed something fundamental in me. It wasn't just about physical pleasure anymore. It was the way he looked at me in the dim light, his gaze holding mine as our bodies moved together. There was an intimacy in that eye contact that felt more vulnerable than any touch. His hands cradled my face like I was something precious when he kissed me. Not the hungry, desperate kisses of our early dates, but slow, searching ones that made my chest ache. I'd never realized how much could be said without words, how the brush of his thumb across my cheekbone could feel like a confession, or how the way his breathing hitched when I touched him revealed more than any compliment ever could. We moved beyond just bodies connecting. I learned the weight of his silence when he was overwhelmed with, feeling the way his arms tightened around me afterward, not in possession, but in gratitude. The quiet moments between became just as important as the act itself, his fingers absently tracing patterns on my back as we caught our breath. The unspoken understanding when we simply lay tangled together, listening to each other's heartbeats slow. It scared me sometimes, this depth of connection, how he could read my hesitation in the way I held my breath, or sense my desire in the slightest arch of my back in those moments. Sex stopped being something we did and became something we shared, imperfect, human, and infinitely more beautiful for it. The real revelation came afterward, when he'd pull me close without a word, his heartbeat steady against my ear. That silent communication spoke louder than any declaration ever could. I hadn't known physical intimacy could feel this much like being known. Moonlight transformed our bodies into living poetry that night. Jason's hands moved like a composer's, each touch a deliberate note, each caress building toward some sacred symphony. Only we could hear. Our skin became a map of undiscovered countries, his lips charting constellations across my shoulders that burned brighter than any star. The rhythm between us wasn't the frantic staccato I'd known before, but a slow tidal waltz, waves building and receding, each surge of pleasure rolling in, with the certainty of the ocean meeting shore time dissolved like sugar in warm tea, sweet and endless when his fingers laced through mine, pinning them gently above my head. It felt less like restraint and more like devotion. The heat between our bodies wasn't fire, but sunlight through stained glass. Colored, reverent, transforming, I arched beneath him like a boring tension and release, composing their own silent music. The room smelled of warm skin and the faint citrus of his cologne. The air between us thick as honey. Every gasp hung suspended before dissolving into the dark. Our movements spoke in metaphors, his hips writing sonnets against mine, my nails leaving haikus down his back, even after. As we lay breathless and tangled, the quiet between us hummed with unspoken verses. I finally understood why artists through centuries tried to capture this, not the act itself, but the way two separate beings could become a single pulsing work of art. Temporary beautiful hours, dawn crept across the sheets like a shy observer painting gold streaks along the curve of Jason's sleeping shoulder. I watched the steady rise and fall of his chest, our legs still unconsciously entwined beneath the tangled linen. His fingertips rested lightly against my hip bone, even in sleep, maintaining that silent connection. The room held the quiet aftermath of a storm, not destruction, but the clean charged air after lightning. My skin remembered every touch like invisible ink glowing beneath the surface. When I shifted the cool cotton against my overheated flesh made me shiver. The contrast startling and delicious. Jason stirred as sunlight touched his face, his hand automatically seeking mine before his eyes even opened. That unconscious gesture undid me more than anything we'd done in the dark. His thumb brushed across my knuckles in a wordless question, and when I squeezed back, his smile dawned slow and warm. We didn't speak. The morning birds outside our window filled the silence with their oblivious songs. His lips pressed against my temple, lingering in a way that felt like a promise rather than goodbye. The sheets smelled like us, salt and sleep, and something sweet I couldn't name, as I traced the faint marks my nails had left on his back. Hours earlier, I realized this was the part nobody talks about. Not the climax, but the quiet miracle of lying skin to skin in the morning light, knowing you've been truly seen. His heartbeat under my palm became the only language that mattered.